Alright, let's talk a little bit about what I want to see from Orion Properties in 2026. I think it's prudent to make an update on this company, a little bit about the challenges, a little bit about some opportunities, especially since I hold 5,800 shares in this company. Actually, a little bit more. I have some in another account as well. But this investment so far has been a disappointment. It has been trading sideways since I bought it in bulk. I'm up a lot on the other account due to buying at an extremely cheap price. That's when I started to buy in. And slight loss in capital gains in total. In terms of total returns, just a slight gain due to the dividends of this company. Dividends which are extremely sustainable at current levels. They are low on leverage. They don't have a lot of debt. It's almost 50-50 in terms of debt and equity for this company. And in terms of payout rate from the funds from operations, they are also extremely low. I think they had 9 cents in FFO, paying out 2 cents of this, using accounting tricks to write down the total value of assets on the balance sheet to be able to keep the REIT status. So using some technicalities, this has been pointed out by Kava Capital Management. I want to cover a bit of old news here, and I will do this because I personally reached out to Kava as well. I will talk a little bit about that after we cover the article. But the management here has been pressed, and they are using technicalities to avoid shareholder accountability. I can understand what they mean by this. ONL has the potential to unlock a whole lot more shareholder value. They could pay out a lot more in dividend, in my opinion. They are using the capital that they are preserving to pay down debt even further, but come on, rates are on the way down. Be a bit more aggressive. Sell off some of those properties that you are maintaining. You have 74% occupancy rate in terms of your properties. A lot of them, roughly a quarter, is still not leased as of last quarterly earnings. They have another earnings date coming up in March now. It was announced recently. You can look at the news on investor relations if you want. But this is heavily under criticism, and rightfully so, in my opinion. We've seen some sales, we've seen some re-tenanting, although getting patient, staying patient is getting harder and harder indeed. And I can understand the frustration from Kava here. I looked at the company. It's a smaller company. Their stake in ONL represents, it has the potential to give good returns or bad returns for them. So I understand that they tried to get some of their own board members onto the board of Orion Properties in this case, with some willingness to engage. And this is, by the way, a paid press release by Kava stating that our goal is simple. We want Orion to achieve its full potential, ensuring the stockholders, so shareholders, have a meaningful opportunity to participate in board elections, in essential to restoring accountability and enhancing value for all shareholders. And then we scroll down, we see the media contact here, Stephanie Holtzman, marketing director. I reached out to Stephanie, just asking for some clarification on if they actually have a plan here on how to enhance shareholder value. Usually when activist style investors talk about companies like that, they might have a very long PowerPoint presentation like we saw Bill Ackman do on why he think that Fannie and Freddie Mae should be re-privatized, long presentation. But I received no answer from Kava in this case. no plan on how to enhance shareholder value. And if you don't want to share a plan, clearly, share it with other shareholders, retail investors. How can you then expect that retail investors will stand behind you and vote for your candidates for the board of directors? You certainly haven't earned my confidence yet. Why should you be any better than current management? Current management, sure, they're not doing an amazing job, in my opinion, but they're not doing a terrible job either. They're just being overly careful, in my opinion, which is not the worst thing you can do for a company. A company has two principles. The most important one is longevity, the going principle, to be able to continue to run that business forever and not go bankrupt. That's the most important thing. And then the second most important thing is to maximize profitability for shareholders, just maximize the gains for us as owners. Those are the two fiduciary duties of management. And then putting the going principle higher than profitability makes sense to me on paper. Am I happy about it? Absolutely not. I would like to see them be a bit more aggressive in 2026, but just because we are a bit unhappy as shareholders does not mean we should go from the frying pan and into the fire. I don't think that Kava has earned the trust here of investors yet for us to put our votes behind them in a potential election. So going into 2026, I hope to see ONL, Orion Properties, increase their occupancy rate on their properties, whether it's by selling off or re-tenanting. And I think that once we get closer to 90% in occupancy rate, then I would very much like to see the old levels of dividend being reinstated, and that's when I think that shareholders are likely to finally receive their payday. Still patient on this one, although I would like to see in the next earnings call more plans around re-tenanting the pipeline. They say they have a great pipeline. They've been saying this for 2 quarters in a row now, but the results are still not there on paper. They have a great pipeline, sure, but close the deals, lease out those properties, get occupancy rate up. That's what I want to see from this company going into 2026. And sentiment is extremely bearish right now. It will continue to be that way until we see occupancy rate go up and until we see those dividends being reinstated. All right, that's been it for covering Orion Properties. And as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now. Bye bye.